Welcome back to A Fresh Start for Your Creative Heart. This is the third and final class in the workshop, and I really want to thank you for being here, being a part of the class. I hope you learned a lot about yourself in the process. So let's talk today about using your visual cue. I think I'd mentioned to you that I chose to use a journal. I picked up an inexpensive journal from Office Depot, and I just painted both sides of it, and I painted the inside just using a foam brush. Then I layered things on there that are of strong personal meaning to me, things that I found when I went through the process of defining myself. And I used just good old-fashioned Mod Podge to layer the things on there. If you don't want to buy Mod Podge, you can just buy Elmer's glue and thin it down with some water. That works really well. Just make sure you let everything dry in between. So let's talk about using visual cues to help you stay focused and moving towards your goals. What's really interesting about visual cues and about visualization techniques is how powerful they really are. For example, athletes use visualization techniques to see themselves working towards and achieving the goals that they have for themselves. So there's two different ways that you can do this. There's the method outcome and there's the process. So the method outcome is visualizing yourself finishing whatever the goal is. The process is seeing yourself go through all those steps. So let's look at what that would be like for you. And we'll use just getting in shape and losing weight because that's one that everybody can associate and relate to. So let's say getting in shape and losing weight is going to be my goal. What you need to do is you need to write it out really clearly, solidify your intent, what that looks like to you. Don't just say, I want to lose 10 pounds. Just really, what does that look like to you? Because you're going to, what it looks like to you could be, it's going to make me feel better, I'm going to be stronger, I'm going to be healthier, whatever that might be to you. Then you need to look at the necessary means. So how you're going to do this. Whether the necessary means that you are getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to hit the track, which believe me, there's not enough coffee in this whole world to get me out of bed at that morning to put on running shoes. So it's find what's going to work for you. That wouldn't work for me. I am a night owl, so I'm going to be, running or working out later in the day, like maybe using my elliptic glider in my living room, or it's running on the treadmill down at the gym at night. It's what are the means to the end for you. It means you need to get a gym membership. You need to invest in running shoes. So those are what the means are. Now you can apply this as well. Say you want to go back to school. Well, what are the means? You might need to get a loan. You might need childcare for your kids so you can be back at school. Maybe you are going to take an accelerated program because you need to blast through because of a career opportunity that requires a degree, something like that. Or maybe it's just on your bucket list to have a degree, so you're going to kind of pine away at a degree with your long-term goal in mind. And it's just going back and seeing what's going to work for you. Is it an online class? Is it actually going to the classroom? So always, whatever your goal is going to be, it's all defined by, your success is defined by what works for you. And being good to yourself and reworking that process as you're going along. We talked about that last week, about using your journal with your goals of seeing where I am, where do I want to be, and to keep rechecking yourself. Because you do have to make adjustments as life just happens, as things come up. Maybe you end up moving, or your spouse gets promoted and they are putting in more hours at work and they're not as available to help you with some of the things that they had before. So maybe that means that you're going to hire somebody to clean your house so that you have time to study, whatever that looks like. There's just so many illustrations there for you. But let's talk about another part of visualizing. That's, the process part, and it's the method outcome that athletes use. It is seeing yourself actually doing whatever it is. So what I mean is Magic Johnson, he knows what it looks like when he throws the ball, right? But he sees it, and he sees it in an edited form, so it has the outcome of what he wants. It's the same thing that a high dive diver does, or an ice skater when she's practicing her routine. She can see it in her head and she can tweak it. She hits that spin and she does not see herself falling on the ice, but she sees herself coming right out of it and going into, the next trick that she's going to do. It's amazingly powerful how if you do this, you apply it to your life, how much success you actually can have. And I know it sounds kind of weird and cheesy. Before I ever did it, I heard people talk about it, and I thought it seemed a little new age. I thought it was too much like, put it out there for the universe, because the people I was hearing it from, they were really framing it that way. But when you start hearing that CEOs and Olympic athletes are using this particular skill to help themselves grow and meet their goals, it doesn't sound so weird. So if you are a salesperson, use the visualization technique to see yourself going in, presenting and being cool and calm and not being nervous, hitting all of the points that you know that you need to make, and closing the deal. See, that seems really normal. So I can live with that. I can visualize myself doing that. So I can visualize myself clearing my schedule to do certain things that I need to do to meet my goal. And those are all, they seem really basic, but when you really start putting them together, they make sense. And as you apply it, it makes more sense. So last week we had talked about fear, and one of the things that you can even use to change a negative in your life, not just crossing a finish line or nailing a sales presentation, it's visualization with getting rid of negative things. So if you are fearful, we had talked about writing down those things and burning them. You might need to physically do that a couple of times, but after you've done it, you see yourself doing it because your mind automatically makes a picture of those type of things that you do, and it stores it. You can just recall that memory. I don't need to write it down and throw it in the fireplace. I am just going to see it in my mind and get rid of it. And takes practice. It takes practice and it takes discipline. No matter what your goal is or what it is that you're visualizing, it's going to take some practice, and the more you do it, the better that you get at it. The reason why this works is because your brain generates an impulse that tells the neurons to perform. So it's really interesting that you can basically use your imagination coupled with your memory of doing something to create a whole new outcome. And that's what we want to do using a visualization technique for healing our hearts, for being creative, and for meeting our goals. I hope that really makes sense to you. Of course, the forum is always open. You can always post questions there. But just start trying it. Try it out a little bit until you get comfortable with that whole technique. It's learning a new skill. That's really all it is. So it seems weird at first, and I know, believe me, I am a huge skeptic about a lot of things. So if I tell you to do something, just know that I've tried it already, and I won't steer you wrong. I won't tell you something works if it's like really idiotic and stupid. I just won't. I don't want to waste your time. So anyways, on the front of the journal, some of the things that I put was like a picture of a clock, because time is precious. I don't want to look back and say, I wish I had. Like we talked about that last time, about how a month goes by, no matter what you're doing, whether you're laying on the couch or you are off the couch and running and getting back in shape. I put things like be me, because we made a commitment last week about being true to ourselves. So I put be me. I want to remind myself to be me. When I'm getting pulled away or pressed to do things that don't feel right to me, I have to regroup and say, okay, where are my core values? How do I feel about this? And just reevaluate and get back on track. Another thing is I put a picture of keys. It's a lot of like the keys to success, opening a door. You've heard that, opening a door and stepping through it, which is a visual picture for goals and for setting those goals in motion. Another thing I put on here is, it says gratitude is the heart's memory. I started writing out a gratitude list. It was a way of shifting my focus. And it could be little things, it could be big things. Sometimes I see birds nesting outside. We have a lot of birds where I live, and they come into my little bird houses. And you know, I wrote down I'm thankful for that because I think there's a sweetness about it. And it could also be I'm thankful I don't have to cook and I get to drive through Taco Bell. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're grateful for. And if you're grateful for the little things in life, I think that that can go so much further than being grateful for, oh, I'm laying on a beach in Hawaii. Yeah, I'm grateful for that, but that's not an everyday thing. If you can have gratitude in your everyday experiences, I think you're going to learn and grow from that quite a bit. Excuse my voice, girls. I'm just getting over being really sick. So I hope that that gives you guys a really clear picture of what I wanted you to take away with the whole visualization. Do it on a journal, do it on a storyboard, a canvas. Literally grab a piece of cardboard and paint it and layer on it, whatever works for you. So the takeaway is, girls, stay committed to yourself. Define who you are. Set your goals in motion. And just give yourself grace as you're working towards those goals to change your path a little bit so that you can get where it is that you want to be. So thank you so much again for joining me in this class. I've really enjoyed having you, and I look forward to the next time that we get to work together. Until then, girls, have a great day, stay inspired, and be creative.